Our marriage was just a few years old when my husband was called into the ministry. And he was called to be a missionary in another country. I was asked if I wanted to wait or if I wanted to go with him immediately. Of course, I knew what my answer would be without even thinking about it, because I've always believed that my place is right by my husband. And I'm glad that I took that decision, because going with him to the mission field from the onset taught me a lot of things. I learned a lot, and I'm going to share some of those things with you today. Welcome back to Times of Refreshing. My name is Tonya Akonle. If you are new here, you are very welcome. Here we talk about our calling, we talk about our challenges, and we talk about our joys as pastor's wife. So I want to encourage you, please always come back, join our community. Make sure that you subscribe if you have not done so. Make sure you like, you share, and invite others to like. Most especially, we always want to hear from you. So after this broadcast, please go ahead and drop your comments in the comment box so that at least we can look at how you feel about the topic and some of the things you want to contribute. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Remember that I told you that I was asked if I wanted to go with my husband or if I wanted to stay behind. And you start wondering, why did I just make up my mind to go with my husband? I did for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that the vows were made. And of course, you can call me the biblical Ruth. She went everywhere that Naomi went, and she did everything she did. And I know that too became one. So I decided to go with my husband. Apart from that, it was just two of us for like a couple of years. We didn't have children at that time. We were still praying to God to give us our own child, trusting God for the gift of the fruit of the womb. And so I thought about it. What would I be sitting here doing by myself? I like the fact that we were going about together. We do things together. Some people that actually met us thought we were just siblings. So I decided to go and be with my husband so that I wouldn't be lonely, feel down because my husband wasn't there. Remember, this is the work of God. And at that time, we were serving God together. So I also wanted to serve God in that capacity. And my husband, in his own case, thought about the fact that he's going to be distracted if he leaves his precious wife, that's me, back home, and then go to another country for the mission work. He is going to be distracted because he's going to be thinking about me, my welfare, thinking about how to take care of me while he's away, and then he needs to do the work of God. So we both went. And I tell you, that is the best decision we've made. Because some of the things I've learned is that for a pastor who is married, or a missionary or a minister who is married, if you have to start a ministry or you have to go somewhere else, it's better for you to go with your spouse. Either the man goes with the wife or the wife goes with the man. Because there's a lot to being a pastor than a lot of people see. There's a whole lot of things to do. The pastor is going to manage people, manage the church, prepare messages, take care of people, emotionally, spiritually, talk to them about the things of God, counsel them, and think of how to make the work of the ministry better. And this is why it is very important for us as pastor's wife to know that our place is beside our husband. And I want to say one thing today. If there's any communication breakdown between you and your spouse as a pastor or a pastor's wife, it is always very important for you guys to look for ways to be able to resolve this conflict quickly so that it does not degenerate to a situation whereby both of you are not maybe talking to one another, or you're not actually helping one another in the ministry, or not relating on the same level you've related before. That can actually, have a bearing on both of you, personally, spiritually, emotionally, and you really don't want that. And so the mission field was an experience for me because I'm glad I went. There are times that I realized that if I had not been there, my husband would have been stuck. For instance, when we got to the mission field, we don't speak the language of the place, not at all. So we had to learn the language of the place bit by bit. And I learned the language of a place faster than my husband because I had to lead a praise and worship, and I was taught some of those songs. I would listen to them on radios, cassette player, DVD and everything. I would listen to those songs, and even though I didn't know their meaning, I would look for their meanings. But one of the things that really helped me to learn the language so fast, the fact that I decided that I was going to relate with the women also so fast. And even though I couldn't speak their language, I would make gestures, and I told them to speak the language to me, so that when they speak the language to me, I then would ask them, what does it mean? What are you trying to say? And then they would tell me. So between that and learning some of the words from the praise and worship songs, I was able to put some of the words together to make phrases, and then I'll speak to them. So for a while, I would be the one to tell my husband some of the things that they were talking about. But of course, my husband is also a very, very fast language learner, and he also picked it up quickly because, of course, when we started, we were using an interpreter, and the interpreter will interpret what we have said in English to the congregation. But we were able to go by because it was two of us. And so I had to become the praise worship leader. If you ask me, I cannot sing to save my life. But I'm trying these days. Honestly, I'm trying. I can at least lead praise and worship. I can sing to because I love to worship my God. But I became the praise and worship leader, and I did that for a while. Imagine if I wasn't there. My husband would do the praise and worship, then he would do the Sunday school, and then he would go ahead and do the message. And there were children also in the church. And then after service, people will stay back to see him for counseling. And it goes on and on. And at times, people will call out of the blues at night, and we need to get up and go and minister to such a person. So my being there, I became the praise and worship leader. I sing the songs that I've learned. I sang them over and over until God brought somebody else that could occupy that particular position. And after a while that the church started, I also decided that we had a handful of children, maybe about 6 of them at that time. And when my husband had started preaching, I would gather them together, go to another side of a place, and then I would start teaching them the Bible. So I also became the Sunday school or the children's church teacher, so to say, at that time. And there were so many other things that I had to do. If I had not been there, my husband would do all that and then still look for ways of eating, to cook by himself, And when they have visitations, it's always easier, especially if you need to visit probably a young woman in those days who is sick. It is always good for the pastor and the wife to go for accountability's sake. Not because, we as pastor's wife, not because we doubt our husbands, no. At least I trust my husband by the grace of God, and God will continue to help him. But because you don't want the story to change from the other side too. I also remember that there was a time that he had to sort a conflict out. And this conflict was between 2 members of the church. And he could not sleep because he tried everything to bring peace between them. But they were so adamant in their rights. Of course, he's the pastor of the church, so he knows what to do. But there are times that even as the pastor, they get overwhelmed. And when they're overwhelmed, we are their comfort place that they come to, that we can reassure them and we can help them to relax. I also remember another story between a man and a wife. And this conflict was so difficult, it looks as if it was not going to be resolved because they were both headstrong about he did this, she did it. And at a point in time, because I was involved in the counseling, I told my husband, let me take woman to another side and talk to her. And he did the same thing with the man. By the time we finished talking to them, differently, and we came back, we were able to resolve the conflict between them. Honestly, I can go on and on why it is important for us to support our husband. I had a good experience going with my husband from the onset to the mission field. I know it's not everybody that wants to do it that way, but I did it because I did not want to just stay back. I knew that my place is my husband needs some, emotional and social connection, after being with all the people in the church, after ministering, after counseling. At times they feel lonely despite all the things that they have done. You are supposed to be there to be that and much more to them. I just want to say and encourage you as a pastor's wife that your place is by your husband, and you are the support that God has created for your husband. Before we left the mission field, God visited me, and that's a story for another day. God visited me and gave me a wonderful, wonderful boy who is a grown man today. So remember that when you stand by your husband, you trust God. God is going to reward you definitely, even at the end of the day. So now that you've heard my story, what is your own story? What do you think? Would you have gone with your husband just like that on the mission field? Or would you have stayed back for some years before joining him? Whatever your decision is, honestly, it's the right decision that you took. My decision was to go with him, and that's my right decision. For some other people, that might not be their right decision. But what I want you to do is to go ahead and share with us. If any of this resonates with you, or if you have a different opinion, just go ahead and share with us some of those things that you have done or what you would have done different. We'll be so glad to hear from you. Until next time on Times of Refreshing, keep being supportive, stay blessed. Bye-bye.